Alright, knife collectors, this is a cautionary tale. I'm making this video after several years of cooling down. I wrote recently a knife magazine, and I got a letter back from them saying that they were too scared to publish this article that I am about to print myself via YouTube. So here's how the story started. Years ago, I ordered several of these knives, and from a custom knife maker. Custom knife maker happened to be in Kentucky, and he was a handmade knife maker, completely custom knife maker. He prided himself in making everything by hand. So I had ordered one or two knives from him before, and I was relatively happy because his prices were affordable. So I got some friends together and we ordered a quantity of these. I don't remember exactly how many, but I know that it was a quantity. And I waited about 6 months for these to come in. Now, I sent him very specific instructions. I told him I wanted a 1/4 inch thick blade because I love 1/4 inch thick blades. I told him I wanted a nickel silver guard, and you'll notice that this happens to be brass. This is also not a 1/4 inch thick. And I did tell him that I like Japanese style handle wraps, which is the one thing that he got right. Now, the reason why this is wrong is because after I ordered it, and after I received it, and felt like I didn't want to stiff the knife maker, I paid him. And several months down the road, one of my friends came to me and told me that he saw pretty much this exact same knife in a catalog. And I didn't believe him, and I told him to bring the catalog, which he did. And he just happened to bring the 2008 Frost Cutlery catalog. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Smoky Mountain Knife Works. This is Spring 2008 Smoky Mountain Knife Works catalog. Now, Frost Cutlery, of course, is the house brand for Smoky Mountain Knife Works. And one of the things that you'll notice on this page is this similar looking knife right here from 2008 called the Frost War Dance Bowie. Stainless steel blade, blood groove, fringed leather, brass guard, 12 inches overall with a nylon belt sheath. This knife, and you'll notice the price, $14. This knife is very similar to this knife. Very close. The blade, anyway, other than, you know, that, discounting the handle, not including the handle, the blade is very similar. So, of course, I got curious, and I ordered one of these knives from Smoky Mountain Knife Works. And it just happened to come in a few weeks later, and to my surprise, boom, it was almost, or it is, identical. Identical, in fact, down to the same blood grooves, the same brass guards, same thickness of brass in the brass guards. And one of the things that you'll notice is the blades are very similar in thickness, but supposedly the quote-unquote custom one is a little thinner. Just a little, but you'll also notice that it's a little thinner, and I don't know if you can tell this. Excuse me, I'm kicking the tripod here. It's a little thinner in this ricasso area right here. Now I'm covering up the maker's mark because I don't necessarily want to get into a legal wrangle, but if you notice the way the light catches the blade and the thickness of the blade at this particular point right up here by the ricasso, it gets a little thinner right in here than it does further back. And the reason for that is because this sneaky little rat ground off the Frost Cutlery logo and the Made in China logo. You see that? Made in China, and that is not just painted on, that's acid etched. So we have a China marking, and we have some kind of Frost Cutlery marking, and it just so happens to be in the exact same place as the sanded or thinned out section on the blade that you can see that he sat there and sanded in that area right there. Now keep in mind that I asked for a Bowie knife with carbon steel, a nickel silver guard, and 1/4 inch thick stock. Those were my specifications. When this came, I was highly disappointed, to say the least. So the one thing I want to show you here, if I haven't proved already that this sneaky little snake bought some $14 knives, sanded down the logos, took off the leather wrapped handle, and that's pretty easy to do. This leather wrapped handle is just glued on, and you can see, if I pull this back, you can see the metal exposed right here, and the metal is the back end, the pommel is almost the identical shape of the pommel on the back of this supposedly quote-unquote custom knife. Now, just to prove that these are, or show you that these are way too close to being identical, I'm going to measure this $14 Frost Cutlery knife, and from the point to the end it's exactly 12 inches. You'll see that from the point of the blade to the end is 12 inches. Now this knife, custom knife supposedly, is also exactly 12 inches from point to the handle, exactly 12 inches. Now the other thing I'm prepared to do is whip out my micrometer. I've set it for millimeters. I've zeroed it out, and we will measure the $14 Chinese knife. The thickness of the blade is 3.79, and that's all the way through. That's all the way to the guard. Even 3.8 at the guard, it gets a little thicker. 3.82 right at the guard. So this quote-unquote custom knife, you'll notice that it starts out at about 3.8. Down towards the swedge, it's the exact same thickness, 3.8, 3.79, the exact same thickness. But as you get closer to this sanded off point, which you can see right in here, this area where he sanded off. I don't know if you can see that in the camera, but that's where he was sanding. So you go from 3.8, this area, down to the sanded area, which is about 3.6. So you can tell that he took off some material right around the guard on both sides. You can see the sanded area on both sides. Right here is where China was printed. Here's the custom knife, supposedly. Here's the Chinese knife. There's where China was printed. There's where it was sanded off. Now the other thing is the blood groove. You can compare the blood groove on both of these knives, and the blood groove is the identical length, pretty much identical thickness. The blade shape, the blade tip, the grind on both of these blades, it is just the swedge. The swedge is the exact same, holding these guards together. Looking at the swedges are the same. It's the exact same length, blade length, guard to guard. I'm holding the guards together. Swedges are the same length. Blade tips are the same length. Handles are the same length. Now, you decide. This knife, this custom knife, we paid $100 a piece for back in 2008, I believe it was. It was $100 a piece, and we ordered a quantity, like I said. So the knife maker was giving us a price break, but we were also ordering a quantity. I think he made well over $1,000 on us, and I know he made $2,000 to $3,000 on me from ordering multiple other knives. But this knife just left a really bad taste in my mouth. The $14 War Dance Bowie from Frost. Frost Cutlery War Dance Bowie. And here's the box, by the way. I'll zoom out. Or try to zoom out. Stock number 18048. Frost Cutlery War Dance Bowie. Made in China. Fixed blade, 12 inches, stainless steel, which I did not order. Braided leather handle, brass handguard, comes with nylon belt sheath. There's the nylon belt sheath. So you guys decide. I don't really necessarily want to throw the knife maker under the bus, but he is still making knives in his home state of Kentucky. And I feel that certain collectors should be careful of what they get themselves into. Now, I'm not going to answer any questions on who this person is. Like I said, I'm not going to get into any legal wranglings, but you can make up your own mind, knowing that this was not the style of knife that I ordered. I ordered carbon steel, 1/4 inch thick stock, nickel silver guard, and the only thing that he did was take off the leather wrap, grind down the brass guard to a smaller size brass guard, Same color brass, same consistency. And of course, he threw away the nylon sheath. This would have been a telltale sign. He didn't include the sheath. What a shame. He didn't give us this high quality sheath. So there's my story. I hope you spread the word. I hope people are careful how they spend their money. I don't want to throw any good knife makers under the bus, but I definitely want bad knife makers to beware. So I hope you thumbs up and subscribe and comment. Again, I can't answer any specific questions, but feel free to comment. Thank you very much.